Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another combination that we've never tested, and it's definitely one that I want to see what it can do, because these shells have been pretty middle of the road so far, but we haven't really run them through a tight choke yet either. So now that I've got a pretty tight choke for this particular setup, I figured we'll bring some of these shells out and put them through it and see what they could do, because it might really help them, or it could really hurt them, or just do nothing at all for them either. So I'm definitely excited to see what kind of performance we can actually get out of this combination. So as for the shell we've got out here today, I brought out some of the Hevi-Shot Magnum Blend 20 gauge shells. These ones are the 12 density tungsten shells, so not your full-on TSS and not your 15 grams per cc type of Hevi-Shot either. These ones are a little bit less dense, but they do still have some tungsten in them as well. But these ones in particular are a 20 gauge 3-inch 1¼ ounce payload of number 5, 6, and 7 shot. So it is a blend shell, and they're moving about 1200 feet per second. And like I just mentioned, these ones have been decent. They've been usable. They haven't given us anything super impressive yet. So what can they do through today's choke? That's going to be the big question. And as for the setup we've got to run them through today, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge, but I threw in this choke. And big thank you to Joseph for sending this choke in. It's given us some pretty good performances so far. But this is a Carlson's heavyweight TSS 555 constriction turkey choke. So with it being 555, it's definitely getting down there to the tighter end of 20 gauge stuff. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what it can do with these mag blend shells, considering I don't think we've run them through anything tighter than a 570 or maybe a 565 at one point. So what can this 555 actually do with them? I don't know. We're going to find out. But as for the test today, everything is set up the same as usual. I've got the turkey paper at 40 yards as well as the chronograph so we can get our velocity out of the shell. So let's get you guys a view of this target and take the shot and just see what we're able to get from these mag blend shells through this tighter 555 Carlsons here today. Okay, so that shell gave us 1178 through the chrono. The boss claim is 1200, so we're only 22 under that claim. So I'd say we're pretty much right where we should be as far as our velocity goes here. But what kind of a pattern were they able to give us down there at 40 yards through that 555 Carlsons? Let's go down and take a look and see what we actually got. All right, a little bit of sidetrack moment. I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's a doe and couple fawns right down there at the end of my rifle range. Definitely a little bit sidetracked here, but that's always nice to see. Anywho, here's what we actually got down here at our 40-yard paper. Now, we were just a touch off to the right, but that's another big reason why we use the backers, just in case that does happen. Either way, though, we do still have a dead turkey all day long. There is 1.5 through the brain or so, and a couple more down the spine, so we would have absolutely gotten that bird. Now, this pattern is, once again, kind of right in the middle of the road area that these shells have been hovering around. We definitely have a little bit of tightening in the core, which I think is a little bit off to the right about in there. As you can see, we do have a little bit of tightening or a couple little tighter clumps there, but definitely not anything super noticeable as compared to what's around it. Now, obviously, this pattern does give us quite a bit of leeway to work with as well, because we definitely were off to the right and we still had a little bit of room to go to where we still would have gotten that turkey. But I'm really not seeing anything that impresses me really out of this pattern. It is absolutely a usable 20 gauge 40 to 45 yard turkey pattern all day long. You're not going to have any problems with it, but it's just right on the edge of where I'd like to see a little bit better out of it. And who knows, maybe this is a little bit too tight of a choke, and maybe these might like something like a 560 or 562 or something like that, which we can try that as well. But as for the rest of the pattern here, outside of that, around the edges, it kind of just becomes a little bit more sporadic. And as you can see, we definitely have some flyers off the left over there, and down all the way at the very bottom of the paper down there, there's a few as well. So it's far from a perfect pattern. It is a very usable pattern, and if it's what I had, I would not be scared to hunt with it. But considering this box of shells was, I think, almost 40 bucks for 5 shells, I would like a little bit better out of them. And that's kind of been the case in my experience with Hevi-Shot in general. So I guess I'll leave this one up to you guys. It is far from the worst pattern we've seen. It's definitely not a bad pattern whatsoever, but I'd like just that little tiny bit more out of it. And who knows, maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky about it, but I'll leave it up to you guys and y'all can let me know your opinions about it. But still, at the end of the day here, it is a usable turkey pattern, so we can't complain too much compared to some of the patterns we've seen. But I was hoping for just a touch better out of it at the same time. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell. And as you can see, very basic design for a turkey wad. Definitely nothing too unique or special. We did have this one petal over here open a little farther than the others, but for going through a 555, this wad looks very good. There's nothing stuck down in there. There's no tears. There's no pinholes, anything like that. So I think it did about as good as what it could have realistically done through today's combination. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that performance right there? Is it a terrible turkey pattern? No, definitely not. Is it the best we've seen? No, it's far from that as well. It is pretty much the same middle of the road average results that we've been getting out of these Hevi-Shot shells. It is absolutely usable, but it leaves us just wanting that little bit better out of it at the same time. It's plenty good enough for 40 to 45 yard turkey hunting, but the core doesn't give us anything super impressive. The outer edges get a little bit splotchy. You have several flyers around there as well. So there's nothing super outstanding about it, but there's definitely nothing terrible about it either, I guess. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Is that about what you expected? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of the Hevi-Shot Magnum Blend shells? And if so, what kind of results have you seen out of them? Would you hunt with that kind of a pattern? Or would you want it tuned in just a little bit better? And maybe is there another choke that you guys want to see us test with those shells? Or another choke that you guys have seen good results from that we should test? Let me know all that down below. At the end of the day here, we can't complain too terribly much because that is a solid, usable enough turkey pattern. But we can still say that we'd like to see just a little bit better out of it at the same time. It's far from terrible, but it's nothing groundbreaking either. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description down below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.